Hey, everybody! Welcome to Nostalgic Talk with Crazy Dave here at Flights 2. Flights 2. Um, bang, bling, bling. This is a very nice thing that my buddy JP gave me. It's got our little QR code on it. Let's see if we can get this in there. So it's it's got our thing on there and that. Dave, flights2gamestore.com. 51 code. This is a very big, heavy metal business card. We used to sharpen the edges on these as kids and throw them at pine trees and make them stick. But speaking of nostalgia, I found this bad boy, Blue Giavello Prosecco Doc. This is so freaking vintage. It had dust on it, and it is a frizzante wine, and kind of hard to find. It's from Italia, bottled by Marzo company, and well, it's a screw top bottle. That's how lowbrow this is as a prosecco. But I feel that it's important to cherish things of days of long gone, kind of like, well, let's not go so lowbrow as to be Mad Dog 2020 Ripple or the Boone's Farm, but cheers to Magic being officially 30, not this crap 30 of the anniversary edition. This was not 30 years. This was a cash grab of Magic by people at the Ivory Tower of Wizards, aka Hasbro. Let's get that off my mat because that does not belong to be here. That was a dumpster fire that started off 2023, and we're currently coming up on the 4th of August with the release of Commander Masters, which Commander was not even a recognized format until just a few years ago. Now it is pretty much the only format recognized and is the cash cow that has grown out of Magic in the past, I would say decade, if not 4 years since the pandemic. In the pandemic, before the pandemic, that Commander became the big drive. They recognized it first in 2012, 2013, and once that kind of started moving in that direction, it was a product they made. They only made 4 Commander decks a year. There was no Commander Legends. There was no Commander Masters. There's no giant inserts of cards that were made for Commander and put into standard decks. What is Standard? Standard doesn't even exist anymore. Standard is... Well, you know what? Standard is, for those of us who are old enough to know, Type 1. Type 2. And we're not talking diabetes. The Wilford Brimley game. No, I'm Wilford Brimley, and I'm here for Ultra Pro, and I want to tell you about Deck Protector. Gaming cards. In 1993, we didn't have these things made by Rembrandt and Ultra Pro. No. In 1995, they finally came out with sleeves for gaming protectors, and as you can see, the hands there. That's how old and scaly we were back then. We had really grubby decks, and that's how our hands look. So now you know why when you see all these alpha cards and things that are all beat to shit as to why. It's like, that's not from being played on concrete slabs or sidewalks or pine pitch picnic tables. No. That's because that's how scaly our hands were back then. That may not be true. It also may be true. So everybody has their story as to how they got into Magic, and I kind of want to do a little nostalgia here now. A lot of people say, it's like, Dave, you said you've been in since the beginning. I was like, yeah, been in since the beginning, and D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, not drugs and drinking, which is the other version of what leads you to play Magic. Because once you play Magic, you no longer have money for drugs and drinking. Well, you do have a little bit. I mean, cheers to 30 years of D&D. Yeah, In 1993, I was a wee old lad of 17. That is this many plus this many. Yeah. Is that right? 5, 6, 7. I can't even do math. I was almost this many. I was almost 18. 1994 would have been my senior year in high school, dating myself now. And the Grateful Dead. Dragons suck. That's kind of it's kind of the thing of it. This is my old school binder of role-playing games. And in here, over the years, I have had my fair share of character sheets and illustrations and drawings and maps that we did. We even have a neighborhood of Loudonville where I lived. It's like I lived I don't know, like right over here somewhere. And yeah, so we had illustrations of things that we did for different games like Star Wars and D&D. Well, my buddy Don, back years ago, we were in his attic and we played AD&D, and this is the newer sheet. This is the redone sheet of him. But we played D&D, and I had a character named Lefsiv Runsuckle. He was a Kender halfling, and he was obnoxious as shit. And to the point where, well, that's more like it. Second edition here, D&D. And he had a cloak of holding, and he also had kleptomania and memory lapse. So he would have to literally roll a dice to pull what he needed out of his pockets as to what he had in each different location. And it wasn't always what he wanted. So ultimately it ended with a TPK, which is short for Total Party Kill, with a wand of fireballs instead of wand of wonder out of his pocket. And it didn't work out so well. But flipping through all this, there were different games and stuff that we had to be creative with. There's no internet. There's no World Wide Web. 1993. It was in the infancy of all that stuff. These are so old that the mimeographs, the photocopies, they weren't even lasers back then. They're photocopies of different games. Oh man, these are crunchy. Boba Fett, I missed you. The Ravenloft cards, the D&D cards. This is what we had. This is what we had back in the day. These were tradable cards. This is the Ravenloft card of the Lich. Had the details, the class, the alignment. There's a whole set of them in series 1, 2, 3, 4. And in such, we had lots of different characters and things in D&D and, well, GURPS. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. Oh, here we go. Torwaki. Torwaki was a Magic the Gathering character, as you know from Legends. But I spelled it a little bit differently. And then there's Aiden Windstrider, my centaur. So we had lots of characters here. And we played D&D originally. And when we did, we were at my friend Don's house, and we were in the attic, and his dad came home, and he says, hey, I was out and about, and saw this new game, and somebody said I should pick some up, so he drops a box of Alpha Magic the Gathering on the table. We don't know what the heck it is. Don kind of knows what it is, but I'm like, I don't really know. So, long story short, we ended up getting 3 packs each, so we opened up of Alpha, and we had to make a deck to fight this wizard with, and we didn't know how to play the game. We didn't have this. This is the rule book for Alpha. And later on, we did finally get them. And what people don't know is what differentiates the Alpha and the Beta instruction manual. Is it's got the same artwork of Jeff Menges. I said it right. Hey, Jeff, said it right. Bog Wraith on the cover of it. And it was the same for Alpha and Beta. In Revised, they changed it to a Shivan Dragon. But the Alpha booklet, and what makes these special and so rare, is these only came in the starter bricks. But on the inside, you had page 1, page 2. There was no actual page 1, it's just the cover, which is weird. So it's page 2, 3, and then on 4, there's a story of Wurzel. And it kind of, a little thing. We never, ever, ever see who Wurzel is. There's never been a Wurzel card, at least not to my knowledge. But this basically goes you through all the steps of the game and how it works and what things do. And it was really helpful. And it's crazy to think that all these that we threw away, because now this stupid little book here is worth $500 at today's current dollars. And it's nostalgia. And 30 years. August 5th officially is Magic's debut of it coming on the market. And I didn't have Magic on August 5th. No, it was more like August 20-something, 24th, 25th. And we managed to get some packs. And I built a deck years ago, and it wasn't good. It wasn't bad, but it had some decent stuff. I guess you can see them. These are all original vintage cards I've had over the years that have come and gone. There's my nice Alpha Berserk here. And these all have issues and damages and patina and scuff marks and bent corners. But they're legit. And to have these in this condition, people are like, oh, well, it's not mint, I don't want it. Okay, so here's a forest and a plains, and a plains that now are worth almost $65 a piece in mint condition. In beat up condition, they're still worth 30, 40, 50 bucks. And you can't find them. They're just not out there. Wanderlust. These are a white-green deck. And Crawworm was a powerhouse back in the day. Now, Power Creep, not so much. Yeah, Juggernaut, again, folded corner. We didn't care. We just played. We went to Boy Scout camp, and we sat in tents and picnic tables, and we just played. With what we had. We couldn't go out and net deck or find a meta of what things... This game was so hard to find as it was, that you were just lucky with what you had. Ah, yes, the living wall. I have that piece hanging on my wall. A 1 of 1. 25 years later, I asked Stanton Maddox to do a Glycey, G-Clay, whatever you pronounce it as. Painting of this when he got married to his lovely wife, Brenda, girlfriend of long times. And so I have one of the only ones ever altered for this artwork hanging on my wall. And believe it or not, it was changed because it was considered too controversial. Behind the glare of there where it's got the little light reflection on the moisture of the meniscus is a baby in there. It's totally actually a fetus in there, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's just iconic. So here is a proxied Black Lotus many, many years later, because an Alpha Black Lotus is ridiculous. However, a true survivor of the years is a Mox Emerald Alpha edition that I have had come back to me over the years, and was very, very happy to get that again. My original Grizzly Bears, and this is where I'm getting to with the story, is I had forgot that I put it in this deck. Well, I'm old now, you know, I'm 47, and Grizzly Bears, when we were playing in the attic of D&D, we were allowed to keep one card from our deck as a familiar, and it was drawn at random, and I got a Grizzly Bear. Now, they were all Don's cards, which is great, but he did give each one of us who were playing, I think it was like 6 or 7 of us that were playing D&D, and he was the DM, he gave all of us at least one card to keep, and this went in my D&D binder for years, and that's where it was. And when I got my collection back out in 2017, 2018, when I got back into Magic after the passing of my two beloved felines, Junkion and Creamy, cheers to them, may they rest in peace, and forever in my memories. I dug this back out and said, you know what? It's still there. And at the time, I think Alpha Grizzly Bear was maybe $12, $13. It's $50 now. Which is crazy to think that a game has come this far in time that a common card as simple as a Grizzly Bear is worth $50. But it's rarity. Because these don't exist anymore. I mean, the number of alpha cards that were produced are far and few in between that even after all these years, I only have a smattering of alpha cards. I bought some lands a couple years ago in the pandemic because I thought it was a good investment. Put them in a deck or two here and there. Played Alpha 40, Alpha 60 League. Alpha 40 originally when the game first came out, there's no rules. There's no limitations as to what you could build. And you could put 10 lands and 15 lightning bolts in your deck or whatever you had as long as it was 40 cards. And it was stupid. It was just crazy broken. But that's how we played. And yeah, there are some bangers that are in here from years ago, and some cards just never grow old. And then some cards, like Personal Incarnation, just never appreciate and aren't all that powerful. But then we get into the social justice nonsense warriors and that, and this card has always been referred to as Bondage Fairy. Earthbind. It's not a particularly great card. It just does 2 damage to target flying creature, which also loses flying from 1 red mana. Okay, it's a shock with a downing thing. Cool, awesome. But now that card is banned because it's considered racy. Quentin Hoover, rest in peace. He's not around anymore. Doesn't have any leg to stand on to complain about it, so whatever. But that's all I have for Alpha. There is just that and my deck. There's some beta, but we'll save that for, I don't know, next month? A month from now? Because after Alpha came out, Beta was hot on its heels. And Beta, unfortunately, they changed the rules. So, for example here, this is a corner cutter. There's a 7mm, 4mm, and 10mm. And Alpha is a 7mm radius here. So it's a much more gradual turn. Beta and most playing cards are a 4mm turn. And when they went from Alpha to Beta, we couldn't play Alpha anymore with them because the corners were much more rounded. We didn't have sleeves. Remember, this is not 95. This is not such a thing. We had penny sleeves. We had these jammies here. Okay? You couldn't play Alpha and Beta together because it was considered a marked card. So when you went to organized tournaments or organized play at stores or shops or... Jeez, I think even we played in the center of the mall at one point. You couldn't play with Alpha cards anymore because the corners would signify which one it was. And if you were somebody who was a scumbag and knew what cards you had in your deck and what cards were what and how many of which ones you had, it was considered card counting. So you couldn't play with them. Now here's some nostalgia for you. Most people don't even know what the hell this is. This is an original DCI card. Yeah, mine is 6 digits. And this, again, this was later on. This was 95. This isn't even the very first DCI card. I think I have one in there somewhere buried in that. But anyhow, it we couldn't use the cards because the corners were rounded. They were like this. You know, they have that sharper edge to them. So we all threw away, basically, our Alpha cards and had to go out and buy Betas. Or later on, Unlimiteds and Revised. Because, well, you couldn't play with Alpha. Now, fast forward 20, 30 years now. You can play Alpha again. And we have an Alpha tournament here coming up. It's called Like Alpha. It's going to be August 5th, 3 p.m. at Flights 2. And you can play any card originally printed in Alpha with whatever printing you have, except it must be the real deal. You can't use any of this crap from this trash. It's got a gold border and the backs are different. You can't use any of the international or collector's edition gold border stuff. No, that's still considered a collector's edition non-tournament legal card. No proxies allowed. You must run the real card. Don't have it? Don't bring it. Sorry, just how it is. So, if you want to play like Alpha, it's going to be a 60 card deck. You can play with your unlimited. So you want to roll in at Power 9 or anything funky like, I don't know, a Lotus? Bring it. Just gotta be real. Gotta be the real deal. No proxy crap, no junk. Now, even if you are, say, hey, listen, like I was back in the day, I got scammed. Okay, this is a first generation Black Lotus proxy card that we didn't even know was proxy. This is back when they were making fakes, and nobody even knew they were fakes. I have had this in my collection for, well, since 1993, 94 at least. Late 93, early 94. Along with a couple other cards, and unfortunately, like this here, it's not real. And it broke my heart to find that out. Much like the card was broken on that one, which is a dead giveaway at some point, but we didn't know. So we had to say, yeah. So say you don't have an alpha, but you got a beta Ancestral Recall. You can play with that in a like alpha tournament because it was printed in alpha. So you just gotta be a real card. No proxies. The prize, depending on who shows up, can be super spicy. It would definitely be alpha. And depending on how many players show up, will depend on what the prize is. So we hope to see you there. Hopefully you enjoyed my little trip down nostalgia lane here with some alpha cards. If you need alpha cards, we have them here at the shop. Not just one or two or three. No. We got a whole binder full. And rares, unlimiteds, commons, lands. We have it. Because it's where the good shite is. Peace.